Alright guys, Scrappy again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day. So far, the Esports World Cup just about to begin. Shotzzy and Huke seemingly ready to go to try and go back-to-back, winning the World Championship, winning the World Cup just a couple of weekends later. Far easier said than done, but the big drama of the day going down with regard to some of the organisations. Toronto's rebrand is a big talking point of the day, but also Hex talking about many of these organisations that simply have not run an event over the last few years and maybe never will. What needs to change in this league going forward? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. We're going to start here. Congrats to Zuma, finally got a ring, and of course Mitch, his fiance now. And you know, people obviously came up with a couple of weeks ago the TP0 meme, right? Because we had Damon, Carver, Barlow. It was always DB3, right? And then it was DB4, and then it was DB5. So people started talking about TP0, you know, Tommy Paparato 0. But you know, now it's TP1. So congrats to those guys. But the guys are arriving out there in Riyadh, right? So I think today, being the Tuesday, will be the day that the players are arriving for the tournament. They probably left a couple of days ago because it's taken a rather long time to travel out there. But I think today should be the arrival day for many of the teams. Tomorrow will be the media day for the players. And then the Thursday is when the matches start. Thursday, there are a lot of games. I think there are 12 matches on Thursday. There are 6 different slots for matches, 2 at a time throughout the entire day. After that, there are fewer matches for the rest of the weekend, but the group stage is going to be pretty crazy on the first day of this tournament. Neptune says, just hit me how crazy this year was. As we know, right, Neptune and Surge making 3 grand finals this year out of the 5 events they played, losing all of them, right? Like not winning a single thing. But maybe the World Cup's going to be a different story. We've talked about it over the last few days, some of the changes that they've made for the World Cup, especially the coaching piece, right? The coaches can stand behind them with their headset on. Is Rambo Ray going to cook up a masterclass? I think there's also talk, and maybe understandably, about the Cloud9 team, because accuracy in the comms with the guys, you know, that could help them. Of course, they're in OpTic's group, as we know. It's Gwinn in that team now instead. And also in that group, I think, is Exceed. So Exceed and his team, Five Fears, they also got slotted into OpTic's group, so it's OpTic G2, which is Minnesota Rocker, Cloud9 with their upgrade. I mean, look, they got rid of Capsidal. They brought in, well, we'll actually see a picture of the team here in a second. They brought in Gwinn. As Exceed said, those are my flight I'm on for the next 12 hours, doesn't have AC vents, didn't know that was an option. He was also talking about paying like $800 to upgrade to business, and look, who knows, if you upgrade to business and you place one place better at the event, it pays yourself back with a substantial amount of interest. But yeah, O4 was also talking, just locked my apartment for the last time. I don't know if there's, you know, this could literally be anything, but TG had a pretty funny comment. I think the point I wanted to make on this is that Surge as an organisation, we know those guys based down in Vancouver, right? And the players talked about it a lot being a substantial disadvantage during the regular season. And the other thing is for Surge, we talked about yesterday, you know, should they upgrade, should they make a change? I think, again, it does depend a fair bit on what happens here at the World Cup, how they perform. They were in an interesting group with Thieves alongside them, so if they were to top their group and beat Thieves in the process, you know, that would be very compelling. But being based out there on the West Coast, it's more difficult to practice. It also means that there's, you know, in terms of attracting players, there are players that won't want to go and live there. They'd prefer to stay in Texas for various reasons. And we've seen this been a talking point with other teams too. For example, Rocker, they were based, I mean, they used to be based in Minnesota, right? And then they kind of pushed the team to say, hey, can we get us a spot in Texas? That's what they did. The same thing for Thieves. They initially were maybe going to stay in LA, but then they pushed pretty heavily to have some sort of operational base in Texas. That's what they did. So, you know, there's other organizations that have followed that protocol and done rather well. And it means that, you know, for players like Kenny, he wants to stay in Texas, to my understanding. So that's why G2 makes a better sense for him, Minnesota Rocker. But let's say Surge came knocking and said, hey, Kenny, we think, you know, we want to bring you in. And maybe Kenny could be a great fit for Surge. But I don't know if he wants to move to Vancouver, right? So these are some of the things that maybe Surge as an organization have to think about going forwards. And this is the Cloud9 team. So here we go. We've got Kremp on the right-hand side. Gwinn is coming in. I don't know what these jerseys are, I'm not going to lie. I mean, when I saw them from a distance, I thought, okay, maybe they're actually not that bad. But yeah, when you zoom in, look at Simp's face, bro. Sim is comedy. Anyway, so, you know, he's got the nonchalant gimmick going on here. But we've got the jerseys. I don't really know what that is or what it's meant to be. Whatever, maybe who cares. But they're walking out on the main stage like this. They are in OpTic's group, as I say, with G2 as well. And then Five Fears, that is Exceed's lineup. And Bloop says, this dude can't wait to get off the team. We believe there was a big rumor going around that there was serious interest from the Falcons in signing Sib and bringing him onto their roster. They could not get that deal done, or didn't get it done, or didn't want to get it done, I don't know, before the World Cup. But after the World Cup, it is nonetheless plausible. The Falcons are a very crucial team to watch this event because they're in a difficult group. I mean, every group is difficult when you're not the first or the second seed. The point is they're playing Boston, they're playing Toronto. Far from a guarantee Falcons are getting out of that group. They're certainly not favoured to by any means. But Xnid's on the flex, TJ's on the SMG alongside Pred, and there's a feeling that, let's be real, after Champs, they're probably going to make at least a couple more changes to that team. Pred isn't going anywhere. There's a rumour that they maybe want to bring aBeZy into that Falcons team. We'll see what they can get done after Champs, or after the World Cup. They weren't at Champs. The point I want to make, though, is that if they do decide to make a move, could it be Sib coming in? And if it is, then what does it mean for Xnid? Because they probably want to keep Xnid, but if he does a good job on the flex, then would they get Sib in that role? Would Sib be the main AR and they have Sib and Xnid and Pred and then +1 like aBeZy? Maybe, but where's the leadership coming from? You know, there are some good questions on that team going forwards. But a bit of drama with regard to the organisation. So we talked about it on the show last night. The Toronto team are representing Movistar Koi for the tournament. And it's a little bit strange. Now, Trey was, talking about this, and he said that as far as he understands, the league isn't going to go away yet from the, let's say, city-based branding. So it's still going to be Toronto, but they are going to combine their brands, and it's basically going to be Toronto Koi. So Ultra as a brand is likely going to go, and it's going to be rebranded next year. That's what CleanX implied the other day. And to be fair, I know obviously Trey's talking about it. We haven't really heard much discussion on it yet, but this is pretty almost self-explanatory in the sense that Koi is the Spanish part of that org, really. Like, a lot of the Spanish guys involved with that organization, they came in. Like, that brand was not going to go anywhere. As much as I would have liked it to just be Ultra and rebrand everything under their domain to Ultra, it was probably always going to be this way around, where Koi was the brand that they were going to choose. But it is difficult, right, I think, as a COD fan or even as an Ultra fan, because I think Ultra had a great brand. They had the squirrel, right? I mean, one of the only brands to actually have a bit of personality behind it. Did a phenomenal job out there locally in Canada to build a lot of local community support. I'm sure lots of you guys are hearing this news, if this does become news, that Ultra as a brand are gone and are pretty gutted about it, right? Because the purple, the colour scheme, lots of the things they did, I think, were really great going. And we're going to have, I'm not saying there weren't other purple teams, because Rocker are purple, LAG are purple, but Gentlemates aren't really. They're moving away from that now. And then we're going to have Koi, which is just kind of another generic blue one, kind of like the Ravens. I don't know. It doesn't really inspire much confidence from me that this is going to be a good change. And if we look back at the league now, I mean, look at this. These were the 12 teams that started the CDL. Atlanta FaZe are still here for now. Whether there's a world where they go back to being FaZe Clan or whatever, but Atlanta FaZe are here. Chicago Huntsmen, they're no longer here. Neither are Dallas. Florida have become Miami Heretics. I mean, even these organizations, like the spots they had, because OpTic Texas now occupies the Dallas spot. The Huntsman spot became OpTic Chicago, and then that was the spot that got sold to Boston, right? So that's where Boston live, technically. Of course, Carolina Royal Ravens are still here, but not London. LAG are gone, it's now Gentlemates. Even a Rocker, I will say, the branding is still there, but they have made a change, right? So their logo now, I mean, it's not really a big deal, but I just wanted to make the point that Rocker's original branding was this, with the purple and the blue. It's now this, right? It's the purple and the red because it's the G2 piece, right? So G2 came in. So technically Minnesota Rocker is still there as the brand, but they have changed something. Subliners are gone. OGLA are gone. That's now the Thieves spot. Paris are long gone. That's now the Falcons. Okay, Seattle have rebranded to Vancouver, so it's kind of like half a rebrand because everything else stayed the same. And now Toronto are going to go as well. So really, you look back on the league from where it started, and you're seeing that basically everything has gone or has changed, and that probably shouldn't be too much of a surprise. But a couple of clips to share. One of Shotzzy and Huke having a pretty fun time in some practice, well, in some chats and stuff, but basically in terms of their practice going into the World Cup, getting the teamwork on point as they get out there to Riyadh. But Hex was talking about these organisations, about the state of the league right now, because they were discussing the World Cup, and there has been a theory that, well, maybe Falcons will host an event at some point, maybe maybe the World Cup and, the Saudis will do another event maybe out in Riyadh. There is a world where over the next couple of years there are more than one tournament, right, in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia. It is possible. And Hex is like, look, some of these other organizations in the league, can you please do something? Can you please actually host an event? Because it's pretty slim pickings out here. And OpTic are saying, hey, we'll run 2, we'll run 3, we'll do, whatever it needs to make this league in a better position with more majors. But right now, not only have lots of these teams just disappeared from the league, but the ones that even are here don't want to run an event. And who can blame them maybe on the monetary perspective?
No,
you want to bang B? You want to bang B? Just
let's do it.
Right, let's do it.
Yo, I'm going to hit an RC top fucking dubs, bro.
All right,
you guys,
top trips.
Top trips.
I'm insta running out mid doors.
Yo, don't run right side. Don't run right side.
Oh.
Oh no!
I'm dead. They're running out mid on me. AG one shot mid. AG one shot front. Granny's going right side. Granny's.
Don't go right side. That's not me. Honestly, Kyle, you said it as soon as I couldn't even react, to be honest.
All good. It's all good, bro.
This weekend's EWC for League. So they went from MSI in Vancouver. That ended Sunday, flew out to Saudi Monday, and then they probably start, I think, Thursday.
Dude. But isn't that the second biggest tourney, though? Like, in that...
MSI? Yeah.
So that they should just have that, like kind of just like Worlds, like, or League. They have Worlds at the end, just have champs at the end. EWC, I think somewhere in the middle would be kind of fire, bro. Like, after Major 2.
Yeah. It's like the mid-season bang out.
So it's like a little mid-season champs who's looking like, you know what I'm saying?
The other problem, though, that I see with this whole thing is that the Carolina Roll Ravens are never going to throw a fucking event. Cloud9 is never going to throw an event.
You have the golf
Los Angeles is never going to throw an event. 100 Thieves is never going to throw an event.
Nade?
Yeah, Matt.
FaZe?
Heretics. FaZe. I don't know. I don't know what's up. Okay, the only thing that I don't know. I don't want to talk for my boy Paul. But look, if you look at G2, which is what, Cloud9? How come there's G2 and Cloud9?
No, G2's Rocker.
Minnesota.
Rocker. Okay, they're never gonna throw an event ever again. They haven't. Okay, Cougars. The Cougars ain't never gonna throw an event. So that's the other thing, which is why we always ask, can we throw 2? Right? Can we throw 2 events, please? And I don't want to throw.
Wait, which one's Toronto Ultra? I can't remember. Movistar.
Movistar Koi.
I didn't even know this word. Movistar Koi.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay. I never even heard of that. What jerseys do those? What does that even look like?
I don't know.
Just gonna be fire.
So Hector certainly has his thoughts about this, and very much understandably so. I just wanted to look through the tournaments over the last few years and where they have been hosted. So once we came back to LAN at the end of 2021 and the end of Cold War, it was pretty much Arlington, right, that ran the event. So they weren't necessarily always OpTic events, but it was run near enough in OpTic's facility that they had the Esports Stadium Arlington. And, the kickoff 2022, Major 1 2022, both in Arlington. Major 2 was in Prior Lake, which was that Minnesota event next to the casino, which is pretty funny to look back on. Then the Pro-Am was in Columbus. That was a league run event. Then Major 3 was Toronto's event. So they've run stuff, obviously. Major 4 that year was in Brooklyn, right? It was the New York event, which is fire. And then Champs that year was in LA. Now, so that was 2022. If we look at 2023, the year after, then, they was in Raleigh, the first event of the season. Then Boston hosted the second major. Then it was Texas for Major 3. Major 4 was in Columbus, as we know. And then the final major was in Toronto again. And then Champs that year was in Vegas, right? So those were the events that season. Last year, as we will remember, if I go back to the start, Major 1 was in Boston. Major 2 was at Fort Lauderdale, right, to the Miami event that they talked about hosting. Then it was Toronto again. Then it was Burbank, California for Major 4, but it was meant to be the Ravens event, but as we know in Charlotte, that never happened. And then that year, we didn't unfortunately have anything else other than Champs in Allen, which was an OpTic event. And then this year, as we know, if just a quick recap on the season, we started out Major 1 in Madrid, Major 2 went to Dallas, or Allen technically, Major 3 was Boca Raton, so technically the Miami event, and then it was Dallas again for Major 4, but this was the DreamHack, where it wasn't team hosted. And then Champs was in Kitchener, hosted by Ultra. So, you look on the way that things have gone over the last few years, and it's pretty clear to see that no one's hosting events. And as Hex says, Thieves, they're not doing stuff. FaZe haven't done anything over the last few years. He's calling out a number of organizations that are never going to do anything. Yeah, Minnesota hosted one a couple of years ago, but nothing since then. New York, I mean, they no longer exist, right? It's Cloud9 nowadays. So, yeah, for many reasons, things have kind of fallen apart. And as Heck says, like, look, we want more events. Please let us host some. But yet that's not really how it's going to work. So it's a difficult time for the COD scene, the fact that all these organizations are changing, and yet in the changing of the guard and the decision makers maybe in some of these parties, they're all pretty much unanimous in their agreement that like bidding to host a major doesn't really make much sense for the teams right now. And there's got to be a big debate as to why that is and, well, how we could maybe change things going forwards, because it's not exactly going to plan as of late. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.